Hey GLS fam! Loving the content? Help keep the good vibes flowing by subscribing. Or, if you're feeling extra awesome, send a super thanks. Or buy me a coffee using the link below. Your support means the world to me, and every bit helps me create more of the stories you love. Thank you for being amazing, and stay tuned for even more goodness coming your way soon. Love you always. I held the letter with trembling hands, my heart pounding as I confessed my feelings, silently begging her to give me a chance. Young Aerin stood in front of me, her expression unreadable, her calm gaze making my nerves feel even heavier. Her eyes sharpened slightly, and I sensed a cold distance forming before she even spoke. I felt my face heat up as embarrassment washed over me, my confidence crumbling under the weight of the moment. I bowed forward, offering the letter with both hands, hoping my sincerity would reach her even if my words failed. She finally spoke, her voice hesitant, as if she were choosing her words carefully. Her words struck me deeply, sharper than I expected, leaving me frozen in shock and disbelief. She turned away, her expression distant and firm, as if she had already closed her heart to me. The memory burned itself into my mind, my chest aching as I realized how vulnerable I had been. I remember it clearly now, my hands shaking, my heart breaking, and the silence that followed her rejection. It was a summer day when I was 15, the day my first love turned away, leaving behind a pain I would never forget. I heard countless rumors about her drifting through the air, each whisper painting young Aerin as someone difficult and distant. Besides that, I couldn't help thinking she had every reason to dislike me after what happened back then. I knew it probably started with that embarrassing afternoon after school, the day I made a mistake I could never forget. I had walked into the wrong clubroom without knocking, only to find her there, caught off guard just as much as I was. I still remember her sharp gaze and my own panic, my heart racing as I stood frozen beside her. Her words were firm and cold, telling me never to let her see my face again, and those words stayed with me for years. That moment became a scar in my memory, one I carried quietly as time moved on. 10 years later, fate brought me back to her, my heart pounding as I finally faced her once more. "Aerin, I'm back," I said softly, unsure if she even wanted to hear my voice again. Seeing her standing there as an adult felt unreal, the distance between us filled with unspoken emotions and memories. The shattered silence around us mirrored what I felt inside, fragile and uncertain. As I looked at her again, I realized that beneath all the misunderstandings, my feelings for her had never truly faded. I let out a shaky laugh, trying to hide how tense I felt as the moment slipped out of my control. I looked down at her with a knowing smile, calling her name as if I had caught her trying to escape again. She turned her face away, her eyes burning with frustration and memories she didn't want to relive. I noticed how close I stood now, her presence overwhelming, leaving me with nowhere to retreat. My hands moved with calm confidence, stopping her before she could pull away, reminding her how powerless she felt around me. I spoke softly but firmly, saying that if she stopped pretending to be strong, things wouldn't have to be so difficult between us. She lay still, staring up at me, her heart racing as confusion and old feelings tangled inside her. When I tried to move again, she caught my wrist, her grip not cruel but unyielding, as if she refused to let me run anymore. She snapped back at me, anger masking the fear and hurt she didn't know how to express. I leaned in close, my voice calm, asking what was wrong this time, as if I already knew the answer. In the end, all I could think was that despite everything, time, distance, and pain, she still seemed to hate me, and that realization hurt more than I wanted to admit. Right in front of my eyes stood the girl I fell in love with at first sight, her presence quietly stealing my breath without her even knowing. That memory takes me back to 2 months ago, when everything between us began, without warning. I saw her holding her report card, being criticized for placing second, her achievements dismissed despite how hard she worked. I overheard her apologizing softly, her voice calm but tired, while someone coldly asked who had taken first place. That was when I learned the name Ji-hyun, the person always standing above her. She explained gently that many teachers admired Ji-hyun because she excelled at everything, her words carrying neither jealousy nor resentment. Suddenly, the air shifted as anger burst forward, sharp and unavoidable, breaking the fragile calm of the moment. Before I could react, I saw her being struck, her body recoiling as if she were used to enduring pain in silence. My heart jumped into my throat as I watched helplessly, fear and disbelief freezing me in place. She turned away, her face flushed and shaken, trying to shield herself as if she didn't want anyone to see her hurt. In that instant, something deep inside me tightened. I realized that behind her strength was a loneliness no one else seemed to notice. And standing there, watching her endure it all, I knew my feelings for her weren't just admiration anymore. They were rooted in a quiet wish to protect her, no matter how distant she seemed. I saw her flinch as harsh words fell on her, accusing her of praising someone she was supposed to compete against. The voice continued, cold and controlling, reminding her to know her place and become only what was demanded of her. Then came the words that cut the deepest, reducing her worth and reminding her painfully of her past. She was ordered to walk home alone, left standing there as the car door slammed shut without a second glance. From a distance, I froze when I heard the word orphan, my chest tightening as I began to understand the truth behind her silence. People whispered that young Aerin from Class 1B was the worst, never knowing what she endured behind closed doors. I watched her profile as tears slipped free, her expression calm but wounded, as if she had learned long ago how to endure pain quietly. That was the moment I realized all those cruel words spoken about her were lies, shaped by fear and misunderstanding. Slowly, I began to understand that her cold rejection of me came from the way she was raised, not from cruelty in her heart. It became clear that her mother would never accept her being close to someone like me, and that fear controlled so much of her life. Even knowing all this, standing there and watching her from afar, I realized something simple and true. No matter how much she pushed people away, I couldn't bring myself to hate her. I only wanted to understand her more. I heard someone call her name, and when young Aerin turned around, her calm expression softened as she noticed me. She smiled and lifted her hand in a small wave, and in that instant, my heart skipped like it didn't know how to behave. Inside, I completely lost it. She was waving at me, smiling at me, and my thoughts turned into pure chaos and joy all at once. That simple gesture pulled me back into the past, to the days when I followed her clumsily, always a step behind. I remembered how confused and hurt I felt back then, never understanding why she kept her distance from me. My thoughts drifted back to school, to the girl who quietly stood beside her, Ji-hyun, always there without drawing attention. Ji-hyun had helped her in small, thoughtful ways, finding books, sharing smiles, and offering support without asking for anything in return. Watching them together, I couldn't deny how naturally close they looked, as if they understood each other without words. Seeing that bond made my chest ache, not with jealousy, but with a bittersweet realization. Even as tears blurred my vision, I understood one thing clearly. I still loved young Aerin, and no matter how complicated her world was, my feelings had never changed. I turned my back, the weight in my chest growing heavier as dark thoughts quietly pressed down on me. I told myself the truth I had always feared, that I would probably remain an outsider in her life. 10 years passed, and time reshaped me into someone older, calmer, but still carrying the same unresolved feelings. I caught my reflection in the glass, my eyes steadier now, yet filled with memories I never truly let go of. Sitting there in silence, I realized how much my life had changed, even though one name still lingered in my heart. Come to think of it, it had been years since I last heard anything about Ji-hyun, the person who was always by Aerin's side. Across the room, Aerin sat alone with a glass in her hand, her posture relaxed but her expression distant and unreadable. When I finally asked if she had heard any news about Ji-hyun, my voice was calm, even though my heart wasn't. Her answer came quickly and simply, no, and in that single word, I felt how much time and distance had truly changed everything. August 2012, during break time, I found myself outside classroom 2C, unaware that my world was about to shift. I was half asleep at my desk when the teacher's voice suddenly cut through the room, announcing a new student. I lifted my head slowly, confused, wondering who would transfer in at a time like this. Then I heard her name, Aerin, and a quiet stir passed through the classroom as she stepped inside. My heart skipped the moment I saw her, standing there with her bag in hand, calm and distant all at once. She introduced herself politely, her voice steady, as if she were used to rooms full of strangers. The teacher asked if anyone wanted to sit with her, and the class immediately filled with whispers and judgment. I heard them murmuring, calling her trouble, saying she brought bad luck, each word making my chest tighten. Before fear could stop me, I shot my hand up, my face burning as I volunteered without hesitation. The room fell silent, eyes wide with shock, as if no one expected someone like me to step forward. I called out her name and told her to sit with me, my voice loud, clumsy, but sincere. As she looked in my direction, surprise flickering across her face, I felt something warm bloom in my chest. That was the first time I chose her, before rumors, before fear, before understanding her pain. Looking back now, I realized that moment wasn't just bravery, it was the beginning of everything between us. She paused in silence, her gaze lingering on me for a brief moment, as if she were trying to read my intentions. The teacher laughed lightly, noting how obvious it was that Jihsoo seemed to like the newcomer, and the room buzzed with quiet reactions. With that, my seat was decided for her, and hearing her name said so casually made my heart race. She walked down the aisle toward me, her long hair swaying gently with each step, while the student beside my desk stood up without a word. As she drew closer, I felt every whisper fade away, replaced by the soft certainty that this was how our story truly began. She was coming toward me, and my heart started racing so fast it felt like it might leap right out of my chest. Happiness hit me all at once, so sudden and overwhelming that my thoughts completely scattered. I rushed forward without thinking, only to freeze in shock when she suddenly stopped, a quiet distance forming between us. She gently pulled out the chair beside mine, her movements calm and composed, as if this moment meant nothing special at all. We finally faced each other, and for a split second, our eyes met, just long enough to make my breath hitch. Her voice was soft and neutral as she pointed out the board at the front, grounding me back to reality. I snapped out of my daze, flustered and embarrassed, realizing I had misunderstood everything. As she settled into the seat ahead of me, I told myself not to overthink it, reminding my heart to calm down. Still, I couldn't help but feel a quiet tension linger between us, subtle, unspoken, and full of possibility. Even if she didn't sit beside me, having her so close felt like the start of something gentle and unforgettable. I took a deep breath and told myself to calm down. If I wanted to get closer to her, I needed a better plan than panicking. I turned around with a nervous smile, introducing myself as Jihsoo, just in case she hadn't caught my name earlier. My words stumbled out as I explained that she was new here and that there were probably many things about our class she didn't know yet. As I spoke, I stole a glance at her, hoping I didn't sound too awkward or eager. She listened quietly, her expression unreadable, but she didn't turn away, and that alone gave me a small spark of hope. In that simple exchange, I felt the distance between us shrink just a little, like the first careful step toward something gentle and new. With a nervous smile, I introduced myself properly, promising that I'd help her whenever she needed anything. She stayed quiet, her red eyes steady on me, and the silence stretched just long enough for doubt to creep in. My confidence crumbled as I wondered if she thought I was being annoying or foolish for talking so much. Trying to cover my embarrassment, I rambled on about transfer students, laughing awkwardly to fill the gap. She still didn't say a word, only lowering her gaze slightly, and that quiet reaction made my chest tighten. I started to say something else, reaching toward my desk without thinking. In that instant, I met her eyes, sharp, intense, and suddenly very close, and my breath caught. The pen slipped from my hand and shattered against the floor, the sound echoing far louder than it should have. I froze in place, my whole body stiff with shock and embarrassment as everyone turned to look. Heat rushed to my face as I stammered her name, apologizing quickly, afraid I had ruined everything. Even so, beneath the panic, my heart fluttered, because for the first time, her attention was fully on me. She sat frozen, her head lowered, her red hair falling like a curtain around her face. The classroom felt too quiet, as if everyone was holding their breath, including me. Something glinted on the floor. When she reached down, her fingers brushed against a broken pen tip. Her chest tightened instantly. In my mind, a memory surfaced to her, soft, pastel, and painfully distant. A younger version of her stood there, clutching a brand new pen with wide eyes. "Mom, is this really for me?" young Aerin asked. Her mother smiled gently and nodded, asking someone else to take good care of her. It was the first and only gift she ever has from her mom, and I broke it. The present rushed back in like cold water. My vision blurred, my hands trembling as regret settled deep in my chest. "I'm sorry," my voice stammered. She knew I hadn't meant it, but the words still landed too late. Something inside me snapped. I stood up before I could think, the hurt spilling over in a sharp, instinctive reaction. There was a sudden shout, chaos exploding around us, desks scraping, voices overlapping. Someone screamed for a teacher. Someone else cried out my name. But all I could feel was the ache in my chest and the weight of the past pressing down on me. And somewhere in that chaos, I realized something terrifying and undeniable. This girl, the one standing in front of me now, she had already stepped into a place in my heart I didn't know how to protect. I heard the whispers before I saw her expression change. They always talked like that, low voices, sharp words meant to cut without being heard. I pretended not to notice, but the sound still crawled under my skin. When I looked up, Aerin was already standing there, her red hair like a flame against the dull classroom, her eyes burning with something I couldn't read. I should have stayed quiet. I should have stepped back. But my body moved before my thoughts could catch up. I knew I had crossed a line the moment her hands clenched. The air around her felt heavy, like a storm about to break. When she spoke, her voice wasn't loud, but it was full of hurt, raw and unguarded. I realized then that she wasn't angry because of me. She was angry because the whole world seemed to keep pushing her down, and I had simply been too close when it happened. Then she mentioned the pen. My chest tightened. I remembered it clearly, the way it had fallen, the sound it made when it broke. At the time, I thought it was just an accident, something I could easily fix. I even told her I would buy another one. I thought that would be enough. It wasn't. That pen wasn't just an object. It was a memory, a promise, proof that someone once loved her enough to leave something behind. When she looked at me and asked how I could possibly replace that, I finally understood what I had taken so lightly. Her hands grabbed my uniform, pulling me closer. I froze. I wasn't scared, not really, but my heart raced so hard it felt like it might give me away. Her face was so close I could see the anger trembling in her eyes and the pain beneath it. I wanted to apologize properly. I wanted to explain. But all that came out was silence. In that silence, something strange happened. Her grip loosened. Her breathing changed. The anger in her eyes flickered, just for a second, and what replaced it felt far more dangerous to my heart. She looked confused, vulnerable. Nobody had ever looked at me that way before. I realized then that I wasn't just standing in front of an angry classmate. I was standing in front of someone who had been hurt too many times, and somehow, without meaning to, I had become someone she cared enough about to feel this deeply. And as terrifying as that moment was, I didn't want to step away. I could almost feel the warmth of that past, the way her mother's smile must have felt when she handed her that pen, asking her to treasure it. And I broke it. The realization hit me hard, guilt tightening my chest. Before I could fully apologize, everything escalated. Her anger, her pain, all crashing into me at once. I barely had time to react before the door slammed open and our homeroom teacher stepped in, her voice sharp and commanding, cutting through the tension. Inside the teacher's room, my heart wouldn't stop racing. I raised my hands quickly, forcing a smile that didn't match how shaken I felt, and took the blame without hesitation. It was my fault. I was careless. I didn't want Aerin to get into more trouble because of me. The teacher's gaze shifted between us, thoughtful, then firm. When she ordered me to apologize properly, with a hug, I nearly stopped breathing. 10 minutes later, my palms were sweating as I stood close to Aerin, closer than I ever had before. My arm wrapped around her instinctively, awkward and uncertain, yet warm. Her body stiffened, but she didn't pull away. She smelled clean and warm, and the world narrowed to that moment. I whispered my apology. I promised I wouldn't upset her again. As I held her, I realized something simple and terrifying all at once. Even in anger, even in silence, being this close to her felt different, like the start of something I didn't yet understand, but didn't want to lose. She went still in my arms. Then softly I said, I understood. More than anyone, I understood how it felt to be abandoned. My parents had left me when I was only days old. Hearing that made her chest ache. Suddenly, my clumsy kindness didn't feel so stupid. I said I meant everything I told her in class. That I wanted to be friends. Friends. The word was gentle, but it stayed with me longer than anything else. We were punished anyway, standing with our hands raised until lunchtime. I complained under my breath, but when I glanced at her, she looked almost peaceful. I wondered if she felt it too, that strange shift, like something important had quietly begun. Back then, I didn't know what to call the feeling growing in my chest. I just knew that from that day on, young Aerin was no longer someone I watched from afar. She was someone I wanted to understand. When I finally apologized again in the hallway, she stopped me. She told me I had done nothing wrong, that she was the one who needed to say sorry. When she reached for my hand, my face burned. My heart skipped. I didn't pull away. Just as I thought the moment might drift into something softer, someone else appeared, tall, confident, holding my hand like it was the most natural thing in the world. She called herself Aerin's girlfriend. The word echoed in my head, loud and unbelievable. Girlfriend. Chapter 5. Across the cafeteria later, laughter echoed, light, teasing, but it carried an edge that made Aerin shrink into herself. She asked for the laughter to stop, her voice soft and embarrassed. Jihyun only smiled, apologizing easily, amused by how flustered she'd become. It was clear they shared history, years of knowing each other, of standing side by side when things weren't kind. I overheard the truth soon enough. They weren't really girlfriends. It was only something said to keep unwanted attention away. Still, when the younger girl admitted someone else had feelings for her, there was no jealousy in the response, only understanding. I'm fine with that, Jihyun said, her eyes gentle. She spoke like someone who had seen too much cruelty and decided to be warmth instead. Later, I watched her reach across the table, her hand steady as she brushed a tear from Aerin's cheek. Her promise was quiet but firm, that she would always be there, that no one would be allowed to hurt her. Just when the moment felt fragile and safe, it shattered. A sudden force broke through the calm, and everything changed in an instant. I was nearby when the sharp tapping broke the silence, paper striking hair, again and again. The sound alone made the room tense. Jihyun flinched before a voice called her name, stern and unforgiving. The teacher's disappointment filled the space. A blank assignment. A rumor about a so-called girlfriend. Every word felt heavier than the last. I saw Jihyun sitting still, shoulders tight, while the red-haired girl across the table watched, unable to look away. Their eyes met for a brief second, silver and red, calm and shaken. Nothing was said, yet everything was understood. The rules were recited like a verdict. No dating. No bullying. No skipping classes. Jihyun answered quietly, almost politely, as if she had memorized these rules long ago. When she smiled and blinked, it wasn't defiance, it was composure, the kind built from enduring too much. But Teacher Yunhee's faces darkened. Irritation lingered, sharp and cold. The room felt smaller then, the air heavier. I noticed Aerin's tense, her jaw set, worry written plainly across her face. When she finally spoke, it wasn't loud, but it was firm. Enough to cut through the tension. Enough to protect. The laboratory felt different after hours. Quiet, warm with amber light, almost secret. Everything was arranged, as if the room itself respected the work done there. Jihsoo said she had finished all the assignments for tomorrow, her hands resting together, patient and proud. When she asked what to do next, the answer came easily. She should go home first, Teacher Yoonhee replied. But she didn't move. Instead, she leaned closer, her refusal gentle but firm. She wouldn't leave her teacher alone there. The closeness shifted the air. When she was told to step aside, she did, but only enough to reveal her resolve. Even when pushed away, there was no anger in her expression, only quiet determination. Glassware and colored liquids reflected the soft light as conversation drifted back to the lab itself. The teacher spoke of research, of excitement, of staying longer not out of duty, but passion. Jihyun listens with open admiration, her eyes shining as she praised her teacher's dedication. She promised to work hard too, so one day, she could be someone worth relying on. Teacher Yoonhee laughed softly at that, a sound light enough to ease the tension. Yet beneath it, I sensed something deeper, a connection growing in the spaces between words, in shared silence and lingering looks. A calm voice asked for a moment more, almost finished. The reply came instantly, bright and obedient, carrying a hint of warmth that went beyond simple respect. Chapter 6. In the quiet street, Aerin waits under streetlights. A message lingered. Her mother would be gone for a few days, so she should take care of herself. The words stayed with her as she stood alone, shadows stretching long around her. When I called her name, she was surprised, softened into a smile. Then confusion followed, quick and unguarded. She hadn't expected to see me there, especially not at this hour. Questions came easily, almost casually. Why stay so late? Why skip the usual routine? The answers didn't come right away. Instead, her gaze drifted past the trees and lights, toward two figures standing closer than they should have been. Names surfaced. Recognition struck. I didn't hear her thoughts, but I felt their weight. Why her again? The question pressed in, sharp and sudden. Why were they still together? So late, so close, like the world had quietly stepped aside for them. From a distance, it must have looked ordinary. Just people talking. Just familiar silhouettes against the night. But to her, it wasn't ordinary at all. It was a realization. Slow, unwelcome, and impossible to ignore. Aerin met Jihyun 4 years ago, back in secondary school. From the beginning, Jihyun stood between her and the world, shielding her from trouble, from people who meant harm. That quiet protection became constant, steady enough that others began to misunderstand. Many assumed they were girlfriends, not because of rumors, but because of how gently Jihyun treated her. Jihyun noticed the smallest things. Even the books she read. She would take the time to read them first, leaving notes in the margins wherever confusion might appear. To her, it felt natural to believe they shared the same feelings. It felt mutual. Certain. Until high school changed everything. That was when she saw Jihyun with someone else, the new homeroom teacher. Too close. Too familiar. A moment that didn't belong to her. The answer traced itself backward, into memory. A library. Shelves of books. A teacher pressed too close. Authority mixed with something else. Words meant to stop it. I'm your teacher. A name exchanged. A threat to report. And then a truth laid bare. They all know Jihyun likes women. The moment carries its own weight even in memory. A breath held too long. A closeness that felt fragile rather than bold, hesitant, almost unreal. It lingered only for a heartbeat before retreating, leaving behind more confusion than certainty. What followed was restraint. An understanding spoken aloud. A decision to slow down, to step back before crossing a line that couldn't be erased. She smiled as she said it, reminding herself and the other that time still mattered, that age and place could not be ignored. The response was silence. Not rejection, not agreement, just the quiet of someone who already knew. To her, it felt like waiting for an airplane at a train station, standing in the wrong place, hoping for something that was never meant to arrive there. From the beginning, it had never been equal. The care she received was different from the care given to the one truly chosen.
She realized it then, slowly,
painfully. "You're so naive," she whispers to herself. Not said with cruelty, but with certainty, like a truth already decided. Even meeting first wasn't enough. Even staying longer didn't change how she was seen. They walked in the same direction, yet not together. One step ahead, one step behind. Distance measured not in space, but in feeling. She called out softly, "Uni." A pause followed. A glance over the shoulder. A question left unasked. Her hands tightened, fingers lacing together as if holding back something fragile. Words tried to form, I like, but they never made it past her lips. Silence answered instead. In the end, she smiled and dismissed it as nothing. She spoke lightly, confessing just enough to hide the truth. Liking someone a lot was safer than saying everything. Safer than admitting fear, that if she said it out loud, she might lose her completely. The decision was made for her. Going back to present, my name was called. A direction chosen. Aerin pulled forward without warning, leaving confusion to me, wide-eyed and unanswered. She turned away, the motion slow and heavy, as if every step asked her to look back, yet she didn't. Surprise breaking into disbelief that she waited for me? The question must have echoed louder than her footsteps as she ran to catch up. Up ahead, we walked side by side under the streetlights, our shadows long and close. I asked where we will go, half confused, half hopeful. No one answered right away. Curiosity lingered in the air. Jihyun wondered what's wrong with Aerin? And when did she start getting along with me? The questions came quietly, layered with something harder to admit. Teacher Yoonhee smiled then, calm, knowing, almost amused. It wasn't cruel, but it wasn't innocent either. Just a look that said she understood more than she let on. And when the words slipped out, sharp, careless, "You're stupid," she said then she walks ahead. Chapter 7. I was surprised to see Aerin waiting for me, standing quietly under the warm glow of the streetlights. When I asked if she had waited long, she didn't answer right away, and the silence between us felt heavier than words. I finally gathered my courage and told her the truth, that I had noticed her long before this moment, even when I never had the chance to approach her. My heart raced as I smiled and asked if we could at least be friends, trying to sound calm despite my nerves. I explained that even I said that I like her before, and she didn't feel the same way. Being seen as her friend would be enough for now. As we walked, she moved ahead without looking back, and a quiet ache settled in my chest. I wondered where we were going, and why she always came home so late, my thoughts tumbling out in my usual clumsy way. Suddenly, she snapped at me to stop talking, and her words stung more than I expected. Fear rushed through me as her expression changed, and I felt myself freeze, unsure of what I had done wrong. When I whispered her name, her sharp gaze met mine, and in that intense moment, I realized how deeply she already affected my heart. My legs suddenly felt weak, and panic rushed through me before I could stop it. With my face burning, I admitted the truth in a shaky voice, saying that my period comes and asking if she has a pad. Erin's reaction was sharp and intense, and her frustration startled me, even as she tried to help. I stumbled over my words, embarrassed and scared, unsure of what to do or where to go. When she suggested going to her place, my heart skipped, relief and nerves mixing together. As we walked, I realized how close her home was, and how close she suddenly felt to me. I asked her, "Is it really okay going to her place?" She answered yes, as long her mom isn't there. Her house is on the top floor. I hesitated, worrying about being seen, but her firm reassurance made me pause and listen. Her confidence overwhelmed me, and my breath caught as I tried to keep up with her pace. Then I noticed the smallest detail in her expression, something gentle beneath her stern calm. When she handed me what I needed, my shock melted into gratitude, and in that quiet moment, my heart leaned toward hers more than ever. My face burned as I realized what I was holding, my heart thumping wildly at the thought that it belonged to Aerin. I panicked inside, that it includes her underwear. Half embarrassed and half touched, while she stood there pretending not to care, even though her ears were slightly red. She told me to take a bath and said she'd prepare some clothes, her voice firm but unexpectedly gentle. Her words caught me off guard, and my thoughts spiraled as I tried to process being alone in her space. While she waited outside, I sensed her restlessness, as if she didn't quite know where to put her emotions. A sudden sting made me yelp, and I froze when a small blur darted past me. I heard her voice through the door, calm but caring, asking me to wait just a little longer. When the door suddenly slammed open, my breath hitched at the sound of her calling my name. I stepped out, wrapped in borrowed warmth, my heart racing as our eyes met again. I told her that I just saw a cat in the bathroom and asked her where did it run to. She froze mid-step, dropping what she was holding. Something brushed my foot, and I flinched, startled by a sudden cry that echoed in the room. My heart jumped as I realized it was the cat, and panic rushed through me all at once. Before I could react, I lost my balance, and the next thing I knew, I was falling straight into her. We landed on the floor, tangled and frozen, our faces far too close for my racing heart to handle. I apologized quickly, checking if she was okay, my voice shaking with worry and embarrassment. She didn't answer right away, only stared at me, her gaze intense and unreadable. Her hand lifted to my face, gentle and curious, as if she was studying me more than listening. When she asked about my face, I fumbled through an explanation, suddenly very aware of how close we were. She brushed my cheek again and smiled, telling me I looked better just the way I was. My breath caught as the words sank in, and all I could think was how warm my chest felt hearing her say she liked me like this. Her quiet question lingered between us, and I felt my breath catch as I tried to understand what she meant. She brushed it off with a teasing tone, telling me not to get the wrong idea, yet her eyes said something softer. I reminded her of last year, how she pushed me away because of my looks, and the memory still stung. She admitted it calmly, saying it was never about that, only an excuse she used to protect herself. Then she said she already liked someone, and my heart dropped before I could stop it. Without looking at me, she asked me to leave, her voice steady but distant. As I stepped away, I saw a sadness in her expression that made it hard to breathe. Days passed, and the silence she left behind followed me everywhere. I've been absent in class for several days. Aerin sat at her desk, pretending to read. When the teacher asked her about me, she answered coolly, even though the question irritated her. She had nothing to do with me, she replied. When she met the teacher's gaze, it felt like she was quietly testing her patience. The teacher reminded her about her transfer, her words sharp, as if she wanted to provoke a reaction. Aerin stood up and excused herself, refusing to let her drag the past into the open. As she walked away, it feels heavy with unspoken thoughts. Silence fell, and for the first time, the teacher wondered who was truly unsettled by it. From above, the teacher watched Aerin and Jihyun standing together in the open space, their figures small but impossible to ignore. Her gaze lingered longer than it should have, chest tightening with a feeling she refused to name. No matter how much she tried to keep her distance, one question echoed quietly in her mind. Why did getting close to her feel so impossibly hard? Chapter 8. The street is washed in warm city lights. Teacher Yoon-hee and her date walk side by side. Their smiles easy, almost rehearsed, as if this scene had happened many times before. They stopped near a sleek car, exchanged a casual goodbye, and waved. Nothing dramatic, yet something about it lingered longer than it should have. At Lee Yoon-hee's apartment, the elevator door slid shut with a soft chime, cutting the moment away and leaving only silence behind. Her heels echoed down the hallway, each step measured and calm. At the end of the corridor, Jihyun was sitting on the floor, curled in on herself, small against the wide, empty space. She slowed, then stopped, the atmosphere shifting the instant she noticed the figure by the door. Her voice softened when she asked why Jihyun was sitting there, but her eyes briefly flicked with curiosity and something sharper. The question about him hung in the air, unanswered, heavy with things left unsaid. After a quiet pause, she chose not to press further, her expression smoothing into calm resolve. She unlocked the door and gestured inside, saying they would talk about it later. As soon as she enters, she flips on the lights. She moved into the kitchen naturally, asking about dinner as if this were an ordinary night, yet the question about him followed close behind, sharp and unavoidable. She paused, saying nothing, and in that silence, could feel the tension tighten between them. Jihyun had waited at the door for hours, excitement turning slowly into confusion and hurt. She spoke about her upcoming birthday, about her parents finally agreeing to meet, her voice trembling with hope that had nowhere to land. From the balcony, she had seen everything. The laughter, the closeness, the ease of a moment she didn't belong to. When she said he was only a blind date, her eyes wavered, as if the explanation didn't fully convince even herself. She added that she had been forced to go, a quiet justification layered over something deeper. The question that followed cut through the room. What about them? What about what had been growing silently all this time? And when she finally asked what about her and their future, top of form, Jihyun's hand clenched at her side, trembling despite how still she tried to remain. Yoonhee smiled gently and spoke of looking forward to it, as if the answer were already decided. Tears gathered at the corner of Jihyun's eyes, her voice caught somewhere between hope and fear. Suddenly, the distance shattered, one firm push against the shelf, a sharp sound breaking the silence. For a moment, neither of them spoke, their expressions heavy with everything they had been holding back. Then Jihyun moved first, pressing her lips forward in a desperate, trembling confession she couldn't put into words. The kiss was brief but overwhelming, filled with years of doubt, longing, and unspoken promises. When they pulled apart, she cupped Jihyun's face and told her not to cry, her voice low and steady. She reminded her that this pain wasn't worth tears, that they had promised never to doubt each other's feelings. Jihyun whispered that she didn't doubt her, only him, and the jealousy surfaced at last. The reply came with a soft, confident, and teased smile. He did like her, after all. She knew she was pretty, but the way she said it made me realize the real answer lay somewhere else entirely. Silence stretched between them, heavy and unbroken, their eyes locking as if words would only make things worse. Without warning, Jihyun moved forward and lifted her into her arms, the sudden closeness stealing the breath from the room. Yoonhee's startled protest echoed faintly as they disappeared from view, surprise laced with something dangerously close to trust. Jihyun's voice followed, low and intense, not angry, not cruel, but charged with emotion, promising consequences not of harm, but of feelings finally demanding to be faced. Chapter 9. A scream tore through the darkness. My name is being called again and again. Sharp with fear, I could almost feel in my chest. Everything moved too fast, metal, light, and sound blurring into a single moment that refused to slow down. The impact came like a thunderclap, sudden and final, leaving only echoes behind. Somewhere in the chaos, a child cried, the sound thin and broken, cutting through the silence that followed. Until I wake up. My face next, pale, distant, as if I was slipping away from the present and into something far older. Later, I sat alone in a quiet room, holding my head, asking myself why these memories wouldn't fade. She believed such memories should have disappeared 16 years ago, buried with time and grief. Yet instead, they returned more vividly each day, like ghosts refusing to stay silent. In a framed photograph, a family smiled softly, an image of warmth that no longer existed. At the neurology department, the truth finally surfaced. For years after the loss of my sister and brother-in-law, my mind had begun clinging to the past. I started copying my parents' habits, even wearing glasses I didn't truly need, as if trying to keep them alive through myself. Standing there, my guardian asked the doctor, "What is supposed to do?" I heard the doctor's calm voice say it was my comfort zone, gentle advice meant to protect rather than fix. He suggested letting her be, trusting that one day I would feel ready to return to my true self. Time shifted, and suddenly the world felt brighter. I cheerfully called out to Aerin, eager to pair up. From the side, I noticed Aerin watching quietly, her expression unreadable, eyes sharp with thought. I sat beside Aerin on the cold gym floor, pretending not to notice how close her knee was to mine. I hadn't attended most PE classes, and admitting it out loud felt embarrassing, but asking her to practice with me felt worse, in a way that made my chest tighten. I leaned closer, eyes bright behind my glasses, talking fast about partners and grades. I wondered if she noticed how carefully I looked into her while waiting for her answer. She just sighed, her expression softened. She demonstrated the stretch, folding forward so effortlessly it made me doubt my own body. "Just 5 seconds," she said. I watched, half focused on the instructions, half aware of how calm she looked like that. I tried next. It wasn't graceful. She crouched beside me, explaining patiently, her voice low and encouraging. I nodded, even though my arms shook. When she pressed me forward to help, I panicked. My breath caught, not just from the stretch, but from her hands, careful, steady, and too close. I complained just to hide how flustered I felt. She laughed it off, firm but playful, and I realized she trusted me enough to tease me. That realization stayed with me longer than the ache in my legs. Suddenly, Aerin notices something out of the corner of her eye. Jihyun handing a research paper to Lee Yoonhee. Lee Yoonhee scans the paper. Her expression was not impressed at all. Jihyun waits eagerly, excited for teacher's response. Finally, she instructed her to do it over again, which happily accepted by Jihyun. Aerin, distracted by the scene, snaps back to reality when she hears me crying in pain. My body suddenly stiffened beneath my hands. The moment froze, and my heart dropped with it. My voice trembled as I whispered her name, asking if my leg was broken. She couldn't answer right away. She just stared and looks worried. At the infirmary, IT felt colder than the gym. Aerin sat nearby while the nurse examined Jihsoo, every word about injuries landing heavily to Aerin. They said Jihsoo may look fine for now, thanks to the medicine, but recovery wouldn't be easy. The nurse stepped out to get ice packs. She told Aerin to help her take off Jihsoo's shirt once she gets back. She nodded anyway. As she sat closer, her lashes flutter, her breathing soft. And when her fingers gently tugged at the fabric of Jihsoo's shirt, her heart raced. She stirred, froze, lifting her hand like she's been caught doing something wrong, even though all she wanted was to help. When Jihsoo's shirt lifted enough to reveal the bruising, her breath caught. The marks spread across her back like a map of pain she hadn't seen coming. Aerin pointed it out to the nurse when she returned, her voice steady. Inside, guilt pressed heavy, mixed with a quiet fear.
Chapter 10.
A sharp knock broke the silence. The door opened, and teacher Yoonhee stepped inside. Aerin looked up and met her gaze. She didn't mean to stare, but worry has a way of sharpening her eyes. Teacher laughed lightly, asking her to stop looking at her that way. She started to explain herself, then paused, confusion flickering across her face as she noticed the tension in the room. Her eyes shifted to Jihsoo's injuries. The mood changed instantly, her expression turning serious. She went quiet. The air grew heavy, and Aerin felt her shoulders tense, as if bracing for something important. She spoke calmly about damage, about how doing nothing could make things worse. Aerin listened in silence, staring ahead, her thoughts tangled between guilt and fear. Aerin is watching the teacher, while tend to the injuries. Then she stared out the window, saying nothing. The silence felt heavy. Then Jihsoo's voice broke through the silence. She shivered and murmured that it was cold. Then she realized someone else was here. Confusion flickered across her face. Jihsoo's POV. I asked why the teacher was here. Even through the pain, I still trying to understand everything around me. The teacher spoke gently, saying she had something important to tell us. I straightened in my seat, already sensing that whatever came next would change things. I realized Aerin was still here, still awake. I felt a strange mix of relief and worry wash over me. I looked at her, searching her face for pain, for fear, for anything I could fix. Instead, I found confusion and something softer. My eyes widened behind her glasses. I looked small sitting there, trying to hold myself together. My hand trembled against the bed. Aerin noticed it immediately. She stayed quiet. Then she spoke, barely louder than a breath. She told us that she didn't hate it. I froze, staring at her like I wasn't sure I heard right. I leaned forward, flustered, demanding to repeat herself. Even like this, hurt and confused, she was still unmistakably her. The teacher's voice cut in, announcing the decision. I will have 2 weeks off. Time to heal. Time apart from school. I protested immediately, insisting it wasn't serious. I watched her argue, stubborn as ever, and couldn't stop myself from smiling just a little. She said I should talk to my uncle about the decision. He is coming to pick me up later. I tried to stand, insisting I could walk on my own. The words came out stubborn, but my legs didn't agree. The moment I took a step, everything tilted. Teacher Lee caught me before I fell, calm and steady, as if she already knew this would happen. She told us not to worry about school for now. Then she said something that made my heart pause. Aerin's mom agreed to let Aerin tutor me at home. For a second, I couldn't hide my reaction. Home. Together. The idea hit me harder than the pain in my body. The chair scraped loudly as someone moved. The sound echoed, sharp enough to break my thoughts. The room emptied a little, leaving space and tension behind. I stayed seated, unsure where to look. Teacher Lee spoke again, her tone casual, almost teasing. She talked about young girls, about liking people who look confident and make them feel special like a princess. Her words landed too close to the truth. I felt heat rush to my face, my pulse betraying me. She wished me good luck with a knowing smile. In that moment, I realized something terrifying and strange. She knows. And as I glanced at her, hurt, flustered, still here, I wondered if maybe that wasn't such a bad thing after all. The thought lingered in my head, quiet but persistent. Will Aerin like it too? I didn't know why that mattered so much, but it did. The word princess echoed in Aerin's mind. It felt unfamiliar, almost embarrassing, yet it stirred something warm. At my place, when the door opened, I was leaning casually, smiling like I belonged here. My breath caught before I could stop it. I asked if she had trouble finding my place, my tone light, playful. I was teasing, but my eyes were steady, focused only on her. Then I said that I have been waiting for her. Chapter 11. Jihsoo welcomes her inside with an easy smile, saying the place is empty, just the two of them. Aerin pauses, her eyes narrowing slightly. A framed photo catches her attention, a smiling couple holding a newborn. A family she never had. She remembered what Jihsoo told her about never receiving gifts from her parents, and they died in an accident when she was only 5 days old. Silence fills the space between them. One listens with gentle eyes. The other waits, exposed and unsure. Trying to shift the mood, Jihsoo offered a drink. The invitation is soft, almost careful. Instead, Aerin points to a book, suggesting they study. Her sigh betrays her nerves. Jihsoo explains her leg still hurts, and asks if they can stay in the bedroom. The request is practical but charged. She adds lightly that the bed is more comfortable. Standing beside the bed, Aerin hesitates. Her thoughts race, heart beating faster than her steps. Then she sees her, relaxed, smiling, looking impossibly charming. Warmth floods her face before she can stop it. She didn't know Jihsoo is already daydreaming about her. That she clings to her with sudden enthusiasm, joking that if Ms. Lee's advice works, they should hang out more. Her excitement is a little too sincere to be just playful. When studying is mentioned again, Aerin turns away, saying she's leaving since she doesn't want to study. Panic flashes across Jihsoo's face as she blurts out a promise to study, anything to make her stay.
Time passes slowly.
The ticking clock fills the room, stretching every second with quiet tension. Jihsoo finally focuses, bent over her notes, trying hard to keep her thoughts in order. Yet her mind keeps drifting. Across the room, Aerin watches in silence, her expression unreadable, eyes lingering longer than necessary. A name slips softly into the air, Kim Jihsoo, spoken with meaning she can't quite explain. Breaking the quiet, Aerin asks, gently but directly, why she likes her. The question closes the distance between them. Their faces draw nearer, breaths shallow, the moment fragile and honest. They stand face to face, neither stepping back. The space between them feels charged, warm, and impossibly small. Jihsoo's pencil pauses mid-word. She can't write a single answer, because the truth is suddenly right in front of her, and it's harder to put into words than she ever imagined. She answers softly that there is no specific reason. Her voice is calm, almost light, as if the truth is simple. With a gentle smile, she adds that it just happens to be her. Saying it out loud feels natural, not forced. Aerin listens, stunned. Her eyes widen slightly, caught off guard by how sincere it sounds. After a pause, she turns away a little and asks what she would do if those feelings were never returned. The distance between them disappears as they lean closer, foreheads almost touching. The question hangs heavy in the air. She freezes, clearly unprepared. Admitting she never thought that far makes her cheeks warm with embarrassment. Still, she leans in again, pleading quietly for her to believe her. Her feelings spill out, unguarded and real. Aerin pulls back and says she doesn't believe it. Her voice shakes, doubt written across her face. She explains that no one in their right mind would like her after everything she's done. The words sound practiced, painful. Without hesitation, Jihsoo replies that it's only because people never tried to know her. She insists she still believes she's a good person. But Aerin whispers that she isn't good at all, but her eyes betray how badly she wants to be proven wrong. Jihsoo leans closer and says firmly that it's impossible. If she were truly bad, she wouldn't be there with her. She adds softly that staying beside her now is proof enough. Her presence isn't forced, it's a choice. The moment shatters when a voice of a man interrupts from behind, asking what the two of them are doing. The warmth between them freezes, replaced by sudden tension. Chapter 12. Kneeling on the floor, Jihsoo complains that her uncle is being cruel, her leg still hurts, yet he keeps pushing. His sharp reply makes it clear he asked someone else, not her, and reminds them they are not dating. The uncle's expression remains cold and unreadable, his doubt already formed. He accuses them outright, saying he saw it himself, and claims they were kissing. Jihsoo quickly denies it, saying they were only talking. He reminds her she's only 17 and scolds her for seeing someone at night. She pleads with him to believe her. He brings up what he heard from school, that she almost broke Jihsoo's leg during PE. She admits it was her, not hiding from the truth. Looking closely at the red-haired girl, he asks if she is young Aerin. She answers simply that she is. Realization dawns on him. He says she's the one Jihsoo wrote her first love letter to. No wonder she seems familiar. He adds mockingly that Jihsoo even has her poster and a doll version in her room. She laughs it off, calling him a liar, while Aerin stares back, unimpressed and unconvinced. Frustration finally breaks through. She asks her uncle to stop spreading false stories about her. He leans back and challenges her, asking why he should stop if it's all false. Calm but determined, she places her phone on the table and tells him to take a look, ready to prove the truth at last. She leans in, asking what it is. Curiosity mixes with worry as they both stare at the phone. The screen plays a message about confessions, how there are always two possible outcomes. Silence falls, heavy and uneasy. Panic breaks through as Jihsoo reaches out, begging her not to watch. Fear rushes ahead of her words. The message repeats, calmly explaining the rule of the heart. Every confession leads somewhere, forward or away. Act 1. In the video, she confesses bravely, asking young Aerin for a chance. Her hands tremble, but her voice doesn't. The answer comes bright and unexpected, okay. Hope explodes across her face. She hugs Aerin tightly, already dreaming aloud about their first date, happiness spilling over. Act 2. The scene shifts. She turns, confused, asking what was just said. The reply is quiet and final. I don't like you. The words land harder than a shout. With tears in her eyes, she forces a gentle smile and says she hopes Aerin will find someone who loves her more. The video ends. The room is still. Only the truth remains, raw and unmistakable. She stares at the phone in silence, her expression blank, thoughts tangled and heavy. The phone vibrates softly against her pocket. The sudden buzz pulls her out of her daze. A message appears. Her mom is outside to pick her up. She says it aloud, already preparing to leave. The reply comes quickly. There's no need to walk her out. The words feel polite, distant. Inside the car, Aerin sits stiffly as her mother reminds her to have a safe drive. Through the window, Jihsoo catches a glimpse of her, hands pressed to the glass, watching quietly. Neither of them speaks. Outside, she waves and calls goodbye to Aerin, promising to see her tomorrow. Her smile is bright, almost too bright. As the car moves, her mother asks if that was a new friend. The question sounds harmless, curious. Aerin hesitates, starting to answer, but her mother cuts in, saying the girl looks fine, better than Jihyun. Her mother adds that she should stop hanging out with her. The judgment is quick and final. Aerin turns toward the window, saying nothing. The city lights blur past as she sinks into silence, her heart heavier than before. Chapter 13. The morning is quiet as the date and time settle in, September 9th, just before sunrise. The school hallway feels unusually still. Aerin thinks to herself that it's Jihyun's birthday today. Like every year, she expects her to arrive early. A soft smile forms as she murmurs "Uni," the word carrying familiarity and warmth. Inside the classroom, she spots her seated alone. Sunlight spills across empty desks, framing the moment. Jihyun rests with her eyes closed, one hand pressed lightly to her side, looking fragile and peaceful. Their eyes meet by accident. Her heart stumbles, beating too fast, too loud, as she looks away. Without a word, she quietly leaves her seat, her steps careful and restrained. They sit side by side again, the space between them familiar, almost comforting. She reflects that they were seatmates for 4 years, sharing countless silent moments like this. That changed only when her mother decided to transfer her to another class, quietly pulling them apart. The question echoes in Aerin's mind. Why do you like me? Memories overlap, soft and unsettling with her and Jihsoo. A heavier thought follows, quieter but sharper. What if she never likes me back, too? She calls out softly, "Uni," the words slipping from her lips before she can stop herself. The classroom is still. They face each other in silence, the air filled with things neither knows how to say. Her hand lifts hesitantly, hovering near the curtain, fingers trembling with indecision. Jihyun rests with her eyes closed, peaceful and unaware, her presence pulling her closer without effort. She leans in slowly, heart racing, closing the distance inch by inch. Their faces draw near, breath shallow, the moment fragile and irreversible. While outside the room, the teacher's heels echo softly down the empty hallway. She realizes she's a little late and smiles to herself, while thinking Jihyun inside must be complaining again. In her mind, she imagines the familiar scene, tears, dramatic sighs, and a loud call for the teacher's attention. The thought amuses her. She reaches the classroom door and pauses. It's slightly open. That's unusual. A flicker of unease crosses her eyes as she looks inside, sensing something is off. Her breath catches. The room feels too quiet, too still. Then she sees them. 2 figures far too close, sharing a moment that shouldn't exist. The sight freezes her in place. Shock ripples through her chest, disbelief giving way to a sharp, silent sting. Her expression hardens as the truth settles in. Whatever she thought she understood changes in an instant. She stands there without a word, eyes steady but wounded, the image burned into her memory. Their lips meet in a brief, breathless kiss, soft, unsure, and filled with feelings they can no longer deny. From the doorway, she just watches. Shock sharpens her gaze as the moment burns into her eyes. She stands frozen in the hallway, hand resting against the door, heart pounding with disbelief. The scene cuts away, leaving the question hanging in the air. What will happen next? Possible outcome 1. She storms in, pulling them apart, shouting for them to let go. Possessiveness and fear collide all at once. Possible outcome 2. Authority interrupts instead, a loud reminder that dating is forbidden at school, cutting the moment short. Whatever comes next, one thing is clear. After this, nothing between them will ever be simple again. Chapter 14. Their lips are still pressed together, soft, uncertain, until a fragile pause settles between them. Aerin's eye opens slightly, confusion flickering as if she's waking from a dream. Suddenly, BAM. Their heads bump, awkwardly, breaking the moment.
Ouch.
The word escapes as reality rushes back in. Jihyun clutches her head, startled. She blurts out Aerin's name, asking why she was hit. Aerin answers calmly, almost teasing. She called her many times, but Jihyun was still sleeping. Then, softer, she asks why Jihyun is even here so early. A gentle smile curves Aerin's lips. Of course she's here. Today is Jihyun's birthday. She explains she came early just to celebrate with her, like it's the most natural thing in the world. Aerin places a small bag on the desk, nudging it closer. She remembers Jihyun saying she liked it. Curious, Jihyun opens it. Recognition lights her face. It's the music box she once mentioned. She hesitates, saying it must be expensive. Aerin replies simply that it's worth the price. Jihyun mentions a melody her teacher used to listen to for sleep, something she once wanted but couldn't afford. Aerin falls quiet, listening. Her expression softens, then tightens with a thought she can't ignore. She wonders what any of this has to do with her, with that girl from before. Understanding dawns slowly. A quiet awe slips from her lips as the weight of her feelings settles in. Jihyun smiles gently, her voice light as she says there's something she wants to tell Aerin today. The words land like a sudden chill. She explains that she and Miss Lee have been dating for a while now. Aerin's eyes widen, the color draining from her face, as Jihyun adds that her parents are meeting Miss Lee tonight. Jihyun keeps talking, almost shy, saying it would have been wonderful if Aerin's mom had allowed her to come to the party too. Aerin tries to speak, her voice breaking mid-thought, asking if Jihyun thinks they'll like her. But the question dies before it's finished. Instead, Aerin forces a small excuse, saying she just remembered she has something to do. Jihyun looks up, confused, calling Aerin's name as she suddenly stands. Aerin turns away without another word, walking toward the door, her hair swaying as she leaves the room. From the hallway, Jihyun calls after her again, but the door only echoes softly. A teacher watches from a distance, her expression unreadable, eyes following Aerin's retreating figure. Outside the hotel. This morning, after Aerin left, Teacher Lee let out a slow sigh, staring ahead as the weight finally settled in. As expected, Jihyun remained unaware of everything. She was still looking forward to the birthday present I prepared for her. I replay our conversation in my head, her smile so open, her hands reaching out without hesitation. If her parents, the thought trails off before she can finish it. A voice turns slightly and speaks up, calm but careful. Teacher. Her eyes widen, a single bead of sweat sliding down as something clicks into place. Footsteps approach. A familiar figure comes into view, calm and confident, as if nothing is wrong. Jihyun. The name leaves her lips in disbelief before she can stop herself. Jihyun smiles and speaks easily, telling her to come along. Her parents are already waiting. Bonus, for years later. Time skips forward. Arms wrap around Aerin from behind, warm and possessive. A quiet question follows, if she kissed her? The answer comes just as softly, no. There's a low laugh, playful jealousy slipping into her voice. She says she should be the only one kissed. Teased in return, she's reminded gently that she was the one who took all her firsts. Thanks for listening to GL Stories. We love hearing from you. Drop a comment below and let us know what you thought of today's story. Your feedback helps us create even better content. Don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button. Be sure to turn on notifications so you're the first to catch our new episodes. See you in our next stories.